had a conversation. I was just making a point that I had a different perspective on what she. Yeah. Go ahead.
Can I record a little?
I've got you.
Oh, you've got us.
Oh my God, was that?
No, she doesn't want to be filmed.
That's fine.
Okay.
We won't put you in.
Well, we just want to have a more intimate moment, a short moment, kind of YouTube moment.
Yeah.
Put on YouTube moment. Yeah. Yes. So what have you been thinking, and which of our questions would you like to ask? I forgot. Wait.
Because the camera's
Okay. Well, we have four questions.
Wait. Okay.
The place of HIV/AIDS at SCMS, the pastness of HIV/AIDS, the present of HIV/AIDS, and representation, the constituencies of HIV/AIDS. Are you going to be? Will you talk first?
Okay.
We're ready.
I don't know what I have to say about these specifically, but one of the things we didn't talk about in this particular context that I thought would be sort of interesting to talk about in terms of activism was, for those of us who are teaching at institutions, or in my case also working with queer youth groups and things like that, just the question of what education we're doing and what education is happening in our institutions seems really important, because I know, like in the early 90s, when the situation was different, we had people at the health center telling people that by reducing the number of partners, that was the way to reduce AIDS. It was based on complete misinformation. And now there's different information people need to have. So I'm wondering also about how to stage some events that would intervene in this context, and also would intervene with some very well-known people in terms of what they're doing. And I was thinking one of the things that David was saying about actually what it means to avoid, and deal with ideas of transmission and relationship being positive is so different now. I think education about that is no.
I mean, he did say, and he was right, like that's revolutionary, because it's an actual frame shift, and there's a whole historicized, sort of patented way that you talk about it that isn't even relevant. And now we don't have AIDS activists who can do that revolutionary discourse shift, right? And we were all about discourse production, and we did. We produced a set of discourses that now don't make sense, for education, for enlightenment. And I think that is again the kind of thing that scholars can help do, because we can think about discursive frameworks, allowing people to see things they couldn't see.
Yes, I like that thing you said about how we all have degrees in discourse shift or something. Binary breaking. Yeah, and I just think so many people, I don't think I had quite thought about what is the difference in, issues about transition now given current situation, and exactly the way you talk about it. And so how could we actually spread that to other people facing challenge? This collective project to work on something, we have to figure out how to spread the information.
That's exactly right.
How do we do?
Good. Thank you for doing that. Sounds a little scary to have the camera unless you're...
Well, I know I didn't really dress for the camera.
I didn't either. You're not supposed to wear red.
No.
But
Red.
Let's stand by. You want to talk? Come on, let's stand by the pink triangle. It's so cute. You can stay with us. It doesn't have to stop. It's a stage. What did you want to say? Because this is going to be on our Tumblr, and it's a way to talk to people on SCMS and more broadly to anyone who might find us about HIV/AIDS and media studies.
I was really interested in the parts of the conversation where people were talking about media production and media circulation, and the kind of artistic production, the discourse of media production as art sort of fell away, and that seems to be part of a shift in discourse that could help not normalize, not necessarily institutionalize, but facilitate these kinds of discussions at SCMS.
So you're saying you want to mix up?
I'm just saying that there are hierarchies of legitimacy that operate at SCMS in relation to panel acceptance, I would assume, that could work against a panel like this.
See, that's what was so confusing to me. Because one of the weird things about AIDS representation needs is discourse, was that it always has had a sanctified institutionalized home, right? As I was going to say, like, because so many of the people who are making it early on were famous artists or connected to, and so it's that weird place between being like more legitimate than many other forms of activist art, and yet it's not legitimate at the same time. That has always been that is the history of AIDS to me, like AIDS representation. So it's like, is it getting an Academy Award nomination, or is it not important? You know, is it visible? Is it not visible? And that is, to me, one of the things that we can do. It's both authorized and authorized always. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, well, and issues of temporality that you're bringing up in the discussion seems to be also part of art making and activism traditionally. And does that shift when discourse is prevention or whatever shift?
Well, and if you're getting an Oscar nomination for being like, and then the pharmaceuticals came on, and we people who look like the nominating committee are heroes of the story. You know, so it's not exactly just like, are we nominated or not, but like, what is it that's being nominated in that particular which is so interesting to that question. So I also wonder, and this is kind of thing because my paper also got rejected, and not that it was of such import, but I had a little fantasy of doing something about personal best. And one of the things that interests me is that there is no way to find out actually what is the list of things that were rejected. And I wonder, because I've been in other contexts where, you know, suddenly there's all this thing going around. Like I remember one American Studies conference where, you know, my thing got rejected, and they were like, oh, so-and-so got rejected, so-and-so, you know, like so this idea that there was a rumor of...
There's a logic to the rejection.
But you don't actually know. And you know, kind of interesting, without having to subject people to, like, you know, post the fact that you got rejected, but some opportunity to find out. But it would be, I mean, wouldn't it be interesting to know what else got rejected?
Yeah, it would actually. It's another crazy institutional, you know, shift that like never allowed, which would tell us things.
But now we could probably make that happen. We could say, like, if you're interested in saying, you know, your panel got rejected, because there's no way to discern. And it seems there's so much about having non-record of things. You know, so for some reason this is just really reminding me of like border policing of so-called foreign across the border to Canada in the 90s and the whole way, and other contexts where, like, well, if the Border Patrol does not keep a record, then, you know, Patrick Philippia's work is going to get stopped 150 times because the fact that it got cleared is never going to be found.
Yeah, that's right.
By the new people, so I wonder about...
There's an interesting aspect to the question about, or like, don't they know who Greg Roberts is? I mean, not enough people do, right? And also the types of the way that objects of analysis work conventionally in panels, right? To say, Roberts is showing you work, so he's talking about the work of Greg Roberts, right? As opposed to one of those recognizable film feature length. I mean, there's medium specificity.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have to say, you know, it's raised these questions for me about micro-communities, subfields, etc., because then you build a logic in your own subfield that, you know, you sort of oddly, it's that idea that you have, like, everyone's gay, you know, it's like, well, you seem like, well, everyone knows what queer studies is, and I think, you know, no, actually. But to kind of ask that question, like, how much of what he does moves, speaks outside of our subfield, and should it? And why? Would it be reasonable for everyone in SMS to know Greg Roberts? I don't necessarily know who they know either. So, you know, like, how things travel. And that's this border question again, like, how things travel and where are blocks put artificially in travel by, you know, forces that you can't see and don't know and don't tell us.
Or just things that can like, you know, sort of enforce things. Right, so people have those lawyers enforcing things don't have easily repeat, you know, an easy database to build of like, oh yeah, this already happened. we don't know who's doing the conference, or there's so many things. Where would you want to try to look for some of this information?
Right. I think that's what we wanted to do.